Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Good morning, everybody. How is everybody feeling today? It is Sunday, the 26th of November, 2023, last Sunday of spring. Here you go. Oh. And this is the NZ Travel Show. So we have a good hour with you guys answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So if you are currently planning a trip to New Zealand, go nuts, go in the live chat and ask us all your questions about that. Last week we had a great show about the Auckland airport, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We spent the entire hour making our way live. Well, not really live. It was just a sort of unedited recording of us going through the Auckland airport.
Yeah, a couple of edits, but
yeah. And then,
it was fun.
It was good.
It was fun, yeah. That was great. So we showed you exactly what it looks like when you get off the plane to arrive in New Zealand and to land there. So that was quite a popular show. So if you missed it, make sure you check it out. But today it's gonna be much more freeform today. We're gonna answer all your questions. So anything that comes to your mind, go ahead and ask us your questions, and we're still gonna have a theme for sure.
Yes.
But speaking of our theme, so it is the last Sunday of spring. What are you looking forward to this summer, Laura?
I'm looking forward to some sunshine.
We didn't have much last year, so yeah. Definitely.
So I'm optimistic. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more outdoorsy activities, maybe doing a few hikes here and there.
Yeah, we're going to go climbing again this year.
Oh yeah, we do an annual rock climbing. Rock climbing session, which we usually do at the beginning of the year, so usually around January.
Yep.
So yeah,
all right.
That'll be awesome.
And for anyone that watches us from the US, I hope that you have all popped that button of your pants and are enjoying that food coma post Thanksgiving, of course. All right, so while you guys are preparing with all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, we are going to introduce our theme of the week.
What is it?
All right, so the theme of what is it? The theme of this week is very simple. It's the packing list for summer. So summer is here in New Zealand, and we're really excited to welcome you with warmer temperatures, a slightly More predictable weather, slightly. The purple lupins all around the South Island, especially around beautiful Lake Tekapo. So, yeah, it comes with a few downsides as well, as New Zealand gets a little busier during summertime. And so you may encounter more people alongside the walking tracks or alongside the roadside pit stops where you can take some great photos. But yes, summer is here. So what do you need to pack? And also some extra tips and things you need to know about traveling in New Zealand in summer is what we're going to be covering today. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so to begin with, Laura is going to give us a quick rundown of what you can expect in New Zealand in summer. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, when is summer in New Zealand? It is during the months of December, January and February. There's no specific date of when summer starts in New Zealand. It just usually is just like, okay, December's here, that's summer. That's kind of how it works here. So just to give you some sort of roundabout temperatures of what to expect temperature-wise when you're in New Zealand. On the North Island, you usually would experience average highs of around 25 degrees Celsius.
Which is 77 degrees of freedom units.
Yes, and in the, or lows, sorry, of 12 degrees Celsius, which is
54 degrees of freedom units.
Yes.
That's Fahrenheit, by the way. That's all I call Fahrenheit.
Yeah. And then in the South Island, it's usually a little bit cooler than the North Island, so you will get highs usually of around 22 degrees Celsius.
72 degrees Fahrenheit.
And then lows of around 10 degrees Celsius.
50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes.
I feel like a savant dog next to you.
I've trained you well. Things to note, just sort of general things to know about summer in New Zealand is that the sun is very harsh, especially during summer in New Zealand. So the UV rays are some of the highest in the world. So yeah, sunscreen is an absolute must, or any other sun protection, covering yourself up from the sun during those sort of midday hours. When the sun, basically the heat of summer, mostly as obvious as it sounds, comes from the sun. So as soon as the sun goes in, and maybe if there's cloud cover or when night falls, then the temperature can feel so much different. So that's where you need to sort of be prepared with versatile clothing, which we will get onto later. And one final thing to note about summer is that it is the most popular time for traveling around New Zealand. Yes, so you will find that tourist attractions are at their busiest. You'll find that in terms of pricing for car rentals or bus tours, even some accommodations like hotels will put their prices up higher during this time of year. So just bear in mind that if you are planning a trip for summer, although the weather can be a bit more idyllic compared to other months of the year, you will be sort of paying a premium for your travel in New Zealand, and attractions will be a bit busier than they usually are.
Indeed.
Okay.
All right. While you guys are just slowly waking up, it looks like it's a very, very, very quiet morning. We'll continue with our theme of the week. And so, yeah. So next up on... no, I don't want to restart. Snooze this thing. Oh,
just let it come up next week.
Honestly, Windows. All right. So, what clothes do you need to pack for summer in New Zealand? So, the key to packing clothes for summer in New Zealand is to pack versatile outfit. So, things like hiking pants or leggings that can really see you an entire week, as you can take things on and off and on and off as you progress. For men, those hiking pants which you can unzip and make them
shorts.
Yeah, short is really, really handy as well, which is really cool. And so, and you'll find that in most accommodations, you'll find laundry facilities, which is quite handy and will help you kind of get your, being able to pack light. But if you want a bit of a list per person, Laura has something prepared for you.
Yeah, so just to go through a packing list that could be for, like Robin says, per person. It can be for men, women, kids, whoever in your party, just as long as you have all of these items for each person. Obviously, things that are more for females, you don't pack for males, duh, but or you can if you want.
Yeah.
So just bear in mind that every item might not actually be applicable to everyone. So just obviously take what applies to you. So starting off, you will need at least one pair of leggings / sweatpants. So something comfortable to travel in, to sleep in, to maybe if you've got a huge long bus trip, if you're doing that sort of nighttime bus trip from Wellington back up to Auckland, those sort of things. Leggings / sweatpants are good. One pair of hiking pants. New Zealand is an outdoorsy country, so having outdoorsy attire is recommended. Next up, one pair of shorts for those extra hot days, and you need to cool off. Wear some more cooling clothing. Next up, we recommend having 6 tops / t-shirts / singlets, whatever you sort of prefer to wear as an underlayer. We recommend 6 usually because, that's almost a week. And we do recommend to usually pack about a week's worth of clothing and then use laundry facilities as you go, because you really don't need to overpack. That's just extra stuff to carry. And there's plenty of laundry facilities throughout the country and in accommodations. We recommend having one light long-sleeved top. This is good for covering your skin from the sun or from sandflies. Just having a long sleeve layer is just good in case you do get sunburn as well and you're like, oh, I need to take a break from the sun exposure and having my skin exposed. Then it's just good to have that sort of long sleeve top available. We also recommend to have one sweater / hoodie / fleece or whatever mid layer you prefer, so that when the sun does go in, when it does get a bit cooler, you do have that layer to keep warm, because the temperatures can really feel like they fluctuate a lot even in summer. You won't be in your shorts and t-shirt the whole time. Next up, we recommend that you have 6 pairs of socks, a mix of woolen and cotton socks. Woolen's usually better if you're doing hikes. For instance, if it's raining and you get your socks wet, maybe they usually dry out a lot faster, and cotton can just soaks in the cold. It's generally not a very good material to use for outdoors activities, but cotton socks can usually feel sort of, well, first of all, more compact for packing, but a bit cooler if you are just sort of just spending the day in the city, that sort of thing. Just a mix of both is recommended. Also, related to your sort of undergarments, 6 pairs of underwear is
tighty-whities.
Your tighty-whities. For women or for, I don't know, guys with boobs, 2 bras, if applicable, is usually all you need. And, you can always use laundry facilities. And next up, I would recommend 1 pair of hiking shoes, usually when we're traveling around. We tend to just kind of wear the same hiking shoes or hiking boots for everything that we do in New Zealand, because packing hiking shoes can take up a lot of space in your luggage, but having a pair that's really comfortable to wear essentially for most of your trip that's kind of how we do things, and it has worked out well for us. We basically find it easiest and more comfortable to just travel the entire country wearing the same sort of hiking shoes or hiking boots, and of course they're the most comfortable item to have for doing the walks, even the short walks that New Zealand is famous for. Speaking of footwear, we also recommend to pack 1 pair of flip-flops or jandals, as they call in New Zealand. This is ideal for, days if you're just going to, maybe if you're going to the beach, if you're doing any water sports activities like whitewater rafting, you need something quickly to get changed into afterwards, that sort of thing. If you're staying in hostels or campsites and you're using, communal showers, some people prefer to wear flip-flops while they're in the shower. So there's a lot of good uses for flip-flops, and there's a reason why they're sort of everybody in New Zealand wears flip-flops, or as they call them here, jandals, because they're just ideal for a lot of different situations here. Also, make sure you pack at least 1 sort of set of swimwear. There's a lot of water-related activities in New Zealand, as I've gone through a couple already. There's There's whitewater rafting, there's sort of blackwater rafting, caving in Waitomo, maybe canyoning, that sort of thing. On top of that, there's also a ton of hot pools, of course, that you'll want to wear swimwear for. Maybe if you want to have a swim at the lake or any of the beaches, that sort of thing. So yeah, there's lots of reasons to pack swimwear. And in New Zealand, just as an extra tip in New Zealand, guys tend to wear board shorts. There's not really, not many people wear Speedos on this side of the world. Just if you were like, oh, shall I take my tighty Speedos or shall I take my board shorts?
Why are you looking at me?
Probably best to bring your board shorts. It's kind of like what's considered normal here, but you do you, guys, you do you. And then, yeah, for swimwear, I mean, girls just wear whatever. There's a whole variety of swimwear that girls wear here. And yeah, sun cap or sun hat, protect your head, from the sun. So yeah, pack yourself a sun hat. And for more sun protection, a pair of sunglasses is also going to be pretty handy in summer.
All right, so what Laura mentions are basically the bare essential for a summer trip in New Zealand. So some travelers may feel a bit more comfortable with a city outfit and you know, like jeans and dress and you know, shirt, those kind of things, and feel free to pack that if you feel like it. However, do note that you won't feel out of place wearing more outdoor style clothing in cities in New Zealand. The sense of fashion here is pretty relaxed. Okay, so let's get to the chat. So Robert Laliberte say, I think you changed your time in New Zealand. So I actually just checked because, you know, maybe you're correct. This is why there is much less people in the last couple of sessions. But no, we changed our time on the 24th of September. So that's quite a while ago. And our next time change is on the 7th of April. So it doesn't seem to be that, but that's a very good train of thought. I forgot to check that, but yeah.
Maybe there has been time changes in other countries.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you change time in Canada, Robert? Rafa Cat says, good morning, guys, all the way from very cold Leeds. Guys, it's very cold today. Temperatures is zero degrees Celsius.
Ooh,
wow.
That is cold.
For you in the US, 0 degrees Celsius is basically water freezing temperature. So very, very too cold.
Yes.
So, yeah. Nice. Well, the weather is decent in New Zealand. I mean, we have a little bit of a gust of cold for the last couple of days, but it has been a very, very mild spring. And apparently, according to some of the forecasts from NIWA, which is kind of like our New Zealand's weather agency. I don't know what the I stand for. And yeah, so according to them, we're going to have a very droughty kind of summer. So it is bound to be one of the driest summer ever in New Zealand. So if you're planning a trip, well, you know, you may escape some of the very world famous New Zealand showers. You won't.
Unless you go to Milford Sound or you go to the West Coast or the South Island. There's always a bit of rain.
Indeed. But yeah, so yeah, just do keep that in mind. All right. So yeah, so as usual, so the way this live show works is that you can ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, and we'll pick your questions, and in between questions we're just going through our theme of the week, and we just kind of blabber along with what we decided would be the thing that we chat about today. So yeah, so this time around we're talking about the packing list, the best things to pack for New Zealand in summer. But if you have questions about your upcoming trip to New Zealand, even if it has nothing to do with the subject at hand, go ahead and feel free to ask. What is channel 2013 is saying?
A question about Air New Zealand. Separate from one carry-on baggage, they seem to allow one small item. What size do they allow?
That's really not clear to us, at least. So we travel obviously with Air New Zealand quite a lot. But for example, one thing that could be helpful to you would be to tell you what we have taken as small extra.
As an extra small item, yeah.
So Laura quite often has taken a camera bag. So she has a really large-ish kind of camera, like DSLR camera bag, you know, which is, you know, contain the DSLR and obviously multiple lens and all that. So it's not super light. It's bigger than that. So this one kind of works. I have taken laptop bags. I have taken laptop bags containing 2 laptops, so those double laptop bags. So I've taken those one, and that has worked as well. Another thing that I have taken as my extra kind of small items would be a dry pack. So I've taken a dry pack with a few things in there. When we came back from some tropical locations, we we treated ourselves to a last dip, and then everything was wet, and I wasn't planning to put that back in my suitcase, so I put it in a dry pack, which has kind of like those things that you use when you go like canyoning or anything like that. And so I wrapped that on, so we used that as a dry pack and as an extra item, so that worked as well. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that you can kind of expect. Other people that we've seen kind of traveling, like a lot of ladies use their handbag. That'd be another thing that you can take with you.
Yeah, a laptop bag is.
Yeah, I said the laptop
you said
bags,
that, yeah.
with 2 laptops in there. So yeah, so that's the kind of thing that you kind of can expect. What were you expecting to carry Channel 2013? What is Rafa Cat asking?
Rafa Cat says, Laura, do you have any plans for a UK visit? Unfortunately, I don't have any plans for a UK visit, as much as I would love to go back to the UK and see my family. It's just one of those things that obviously New Zealand is about a 30-hour flight away from the UK. And I'm very conscious about my carbon impact personally on the world, very environmentally conscious. So I always am weighing up, the time I have compared to making that huge journey that does have an impact on the environment. So I know that I've got a lot of stuff that I'm doing over here on this side of the world for now. And yeah, so I'm just sort of concentrating more on my South Pacific life at the moment.
Robert says, how come you didn't prepare me for Cyclone Gabriella? I didn't pack for her. Oh, are you in New Zealand right now, Robert? Is that or are you around where we are? What? And then he says, you used to be at 3 my time nights too. So yeah, sometime I must have changed. So obviously in September we did change time. So that was about 2 months ago for us. Maybe time has changed on your side of the world as well. Maybe that's kind of like what didn't catch up. But yeah, don't really know what's what with that, to be quite honest. That's interesting indeed. Interesting. Actually, to piggyback on the Channel 2013's question, by the way, about the carry-on bag and everything, if you do want to watch last week's live show, we actually we had like a video playing of like live what it is like to arrive in New Zealand, so you can see us with all the bags and you can see what people have as bags and everything, and so you'd be able to kind of spot a few things and get a bit of a visual kind of confirmation experience and all that. So yeah, it was a fun show last week.
It was.
Okay, all right. So while you guys continue asking us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, maybe a backpack smallish. They are very strict during checking. They're very strict during checking. Yes, they do weigh your carry-on for sure. For the 7 kg and for your bags as well. Like your 22 kg bag or 23 kg bag. I can't remember what it is. But yeah, they are definitely very strict on that. And yeah, there is like a kg difference will actually make you have to pay extra, etc. So yeah,
I would say for your small extra, you're saying you've got another small backpack, as long as it is like
has to be really
smaller
small,
than
right?
a carry-on. Like you have like the carry-on size. The dimensions from the Air New Zealand website.
Has to be significantly smaller, like about half that size. Is kind of like what would be allowed as a small one, right? So picture the carry-on bag, picture like the suitcase that those kind of carry-on suitcase, make that half about that. That'll be the way to go about it. And don't like pack it to the brim as well, you know what I mean? Like Ginger Green is putting a bunch of emojis on screen, so here you go, next
nice
to Laura.
Wave and
hearts. I like that the little emojis right here that she put matches your top. It's kind of cute. Very good call.
Yes.
All right, so again, ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. We're here to answer them for you. We kind of are the experts of traveling in New Zealand, as we are a team behind New Zealand's largest travel guide, which is called NZ Pocket Guide, that you can access at nzpocketguide.com. In the meantime, let's continue with our theme of the week and let's talk about toiletries. So we all have our own toiletries to pack and our own beauty regimes that we like to follow. So obviously you know what you want to pack for yourself for your own toiletries, but here's a list of things that you should not miss when packing when traveling to New Zealand in summer.
Yes, so the number one thing you need to pack in that relates to toiletries is sunscreen. Make it at least SPF 30. Anything, your SPF 15 is probably not going to be so effective here with the UV index being so high. Sunscreen is definitely a number one to get. Number two on the list should be insect repellent, because sandflies are, there's a lot of sandflies in New Zealand during summer. So, and once they bite you, they leave a little bit of an itchy bite behind, although they don't spread diseases or anything. They're just annoying to get bitten by. So having some sort of insect repellent is quite handy. Some after sun moisturizer in case you do get sunburnt. Having some, for instance, aloe vera cream, that sort of thing, will be quite handy. Next up, remember your toothbrush, your toothpaste, that sort of thing. Shampoo, conditioner, if that's what you usually use. Deodorant, hairbrush and comb, hair bobbles and hairbands. Feminine hygiene products, razor, makeup if you use it, Q-tips if you use it. Obviously, all these things is depending on whether you use this stuff or not. Maybe tissues, your contact lenses and glasses, maybe a spare pair of glasses in case you lose them. And finally, your prescription medication. So when you are bringing prescription medication, for instance, make sure that they are in sort of the original packaging. We're showing that it is prescribed to whoever is traveling. That's one of the things that may be checked at the border. Usually not commonly checked, but it's just one of those things that is sometimes checked. We didn't mention soap on the list, usually because when you are staying in hotels, motels, that sort of, or private rooms in New Zealand, they do include soap. Usually, but if you're staying in a hostel or a campsite, then in that case, you'll want to bring your own soap. Yeah. All
right. So next up, we will be talking about what you need to have in your first aid kit. And next up is going to be right now. Yeah. So, Laura, what should we have in our first aid kit? There was just no extra questions.
Yeah,
so
maybe I'll just do one extra comment about the toiletries list that I just went through. Just bear in mind that all the stuff that I listed you can buy in New Zealand. So if you do run out or you're not sure how much to take, then just bear in mind that all that is readily available in New Zealand. There are supermarkets pretty abundantly. There are pharmacies, so you don't need to worry too much about most of those items. But of course, if you want to bring the brand that you prefer, obviously bring that from home.
All right, so what do you need to have in your first aid kit, Laura?
So just as a really concise, small first aid kit essentials, things that you'll want are your plasters, or if you're from the US, Band-Aids, disinfectant wipes, gauzes with clips and tape, tweezers, hand sanitizer. That's particularly good for if you are doing any of the hikes and you're using any of the drop toilets and stuff and they don't have hand washing facilities, then that's always handy to take on a hike with you. Painkillers like paracetamol or ibuprofen. Antiseptic cream is always good, hydrocortisone cream, and antihistamines. So that's really just a concise first aid kit. But of course, if you often run into any other sort of medical issues, or you have a few things that you prefer to take with you, then obviously by all means add those in. But that's just to say, like, that's a really small first aid kit that you can have just in your day pack. If anything, if you maybe cut yourself when you're out and about, or accidents happen, and they're usually like the sort of quick things that you can have on you, and you'll be glad to have them. Also for blisters, like if you're not used to, maybe you've got a new pair of walking shoes or something, you haven't worn them in, then that is especially like the number one thing people are happy to have a first aid kit for.
For sure. That's what we carry with us every time we do a hike.
Yeah.
All right, so next up we'll talk about all the miscellaneous and the thing that people always forget when packing for a trip to New Zealand in summer. Busy Be Me. Busy Be Me.
Busy.
Busy Be Me. I like that name. I just finished 3 weeks in New Zealand road tripping around the North Island. It was an amazing experience all around. I relied on NZ Pocket Guide for a lot of my planning and ideas. Thanks, guys. Oh, that's lovely.
You're welcome.
Wow, that's not a question, but that's nice. I take more of those kind of questions. Busy me. Busy Be Me. Busy Be Me. Ooh. Speaking of road tripping, so one of the things that we provide you guys if you're interested is a Patreon channel where you can join us on Patreon and we help you plan your trip to New Zealand. You have access to a group call that we do every week. So right after this live show, we do a group call. There is also a secret Facebook group where we interact with you all week long, which is a lot of fun. So if you feel like joining us on Patreon, even for just a month, planning ahead of your trip, there is a link in the description of this video. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool that they have an entire trip. Oh, retracted the message. Oh no compliment anymore. Yeah, you're right.
That's enough of that.
yeah, that's right. I'd remove those compliments too. It's just boosting our ego right here. That's not nice. No, that's
all
not...
right. You've spoken for too long now. Move on.
I want my miscellaneous now. All right. So next up on our list, we have the miscellaneous. So all the extra stuff that don't fit in any categories and that a lot of people tend to forget 1, 2 or 3 of those on the list. So this is going to be a catch-all kind of category with a bunch of stuff that you need to remember to have packed for your trip to New Zealand. Take it away, Laura.
All right, let's talk about your New Zealand travel adapters. So in New Zealand, they have the 3 sort of prong travel adapter. Type 1 is the type. So make sure that you do have, you can use your electronic devices from overseas in New Zealand. Also for you Americans, the voltage here is different as well. So if you make sure to look to see if you need a voltage converter as well.
All right.
You'll also need to have a camera. Well, maybe you don't need to have a camera.
Just get your phone.
But you can use your phone. But if you're like, oh, I want a special type of camera for this or that, you just remember that. Electronic device chargers. Remember all your chargers. You might need extra batteries for something. So if you are packing batteries, it's best to pack batteries in your carry-on bag rather than your check-in luggage because
it's mandatory to pack them in carry-on bag.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
And to that, I will add that packing one of those little adapter that you can put in the cigarette plug of the car in order to charge your devices is a good idea as well.
Yes, if you are renting a vehicle during your time in New Zealand. A passport. You need it to get to New Zealand.
The good thing is that you're not getting into New Zealand if you don't pack your passport. So here you go.
Driving license, and if applicable, your international driving permit. So if you're renting a vehicle and your driving license is not written in English, you do need to accompany your driving license with an international driving permit. So make sure that you have both if needed. Otherwise, your driving license will be needed for picking up a rental vehicle. Bearing in mind that your overseas driving license does not class as ID for proving your age in New Zealand, so you can't use that for buying alcohol. You'll have to use your passport. But just driving license is essential, obviously, for renting a vehicle. Make sure that you have your flight ticket or flight information and also your return ticket.
Or $1,000 available of funds in order to buy yourself a return ticket.
Yes, that is one of the requirements for coming to New Zealand. Also, make sure, if applicable, you have your visa and the supporting evidence. You'll know what supporting evidence that is depending on your visa. Also, make sure that if you are from one of the countries that does not require a visa for visiting New Zealand, make sure that you have applied for the NZDTA before coming to New Zealand.
We have a video about that. Many videos about that.
All that information can be found on our channel as well as on NZ Pocket Guide. So if you're unsure about all that, all the information is on the website or on our channel.
And on the task.
And on the task. Next up, make sure you have some New Zealand dollars ready for at least your first few days in New Zealand. If you are planning on just using credit card or whatever, like card payments for coming to New Zealand, it's still a good idea to have some cash with you. Just in case your bank blocks your card because you're doing overseas purchases. That's happened to many people that we've known coming to New Zealand, especially people from the US. Even if you told your bank, like, okay, I'm going overseas, you should tell your bank that you are. But even if you have, sometimes things go wrong. So just make sure that you have some cash for your first few days. Speaking of payment methods, also make sure that you do have a credit or debit card. Yep. Next up, make sure, since the water in New Zealand is, like the tap water is completely safe in New Zealand, it is drinkable, make sure that you have a reusable water bottle. Otherwise, you can also, a good idea is to bring a water bladder if you're planning on doing a lot of outdoors activities and walking/hiking. So one of those water bladders where it has like a straw coming out of your backpack is quite handy. But otherwise, a water bottle is going to be really useful as well.
To piggyback on your idea, comments, Ginger Green says, I was able to sign up for a Kiwi Access card for proof of age. It's quite helpful.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that is a really, really good alternative to having to take your passport everywhere and a lot more secure. So yeah, that's great. Next up for packing, if you are planning on doing self-catering, it's quite handy to have some food containers with you. So for travel size containers, there are collapsible food containers, but whatever you have is usually good. And when you're packing food containers in your bag, you can usually stuff things in there. So that's quite handy. Shopping bags, again, if you're self-catering, then having a reusable shopping bag that can, scrunch up quite concisely is a good idea. In New Zealand, you do have to pay for, although they're like plastic bags are no longer a thing in New Zealand, you do have to pay for getting paper bags. So most locals will now use reusable shopping bags. So it's handy to bring one from home if you're planning on doing your own shopping and own self-catering. Another handy item to have is a travel towel. So this is handy for even if you're staying in hotels. If you're thinking of doing water sports activities as well, just a travel towel is really useful for most of the sort of activities you're doing in New Zealand, as well as if you are, say, staying in budget accommodation where a towel isn't provided. It's handy for that as well. So travel towels are much smaller than your average cotton towel. They will usually dry a lot faster, and that's usually the main issue that you have with cotton towels is that they will never dry. They will get musty and smelly. So yeah, you can find there's ton of travel towels available to purchase at
I even
outdoor
review
stores.
them on the channel, so here you go.
Yeah, so travel towels are all good. Then also you may want to pack some games or some sort of entertainment, especially if you're traveling with kids. Cards, a pack of cards maybe, or maybe you prefer to just sort of play games on your phone. I don't know what you do for entertainment. Having a e-reader maybe. Just remember those items as well for when you do have some downtime, perhaps waiting for your flight.
So if you're planning on camping or staying in huts, you may want to pack yourself a lightweight tent. Make sure that it's well cleansed in order to pass biosecurity, as well as a sleeping mat. And if you're staying in huts, like in the park conservation huts, you will want a 4-season sleeping bag, some sort of lighting devices, a torch or headlight lamp. A small camping stove. You can get the canister in New Zealand, so don't bring the canister, just bring the stove that you screw on top. And then some camping cooking utensils. We obviously do have a lot of information about the camping kind of part of that in different videos, as well as on NZ Pocket Guide. Finally, you will need to get yourself a day pack. New Zealand is an outdoor country. You'll do a lot of hiking, day hikes and small day activities. You want a small day pack where you can put all your gears that you need to pack for that said day for your hike. So make sure that you do have a decent day pack. All right, let's go back to the live chat. We have Kathy Kearns. Oh, I destroyed your name, Kathy, and I'm very sorry. So Kathy says, I will be there in January and February. Do I need a puffer jacket, or would a raincoat and windbreaker be enough for warmth?
I would say the raincoat and windbreaker should be good enough.
Especially if you have a jumper underneath.
Yes. What I would recommend is bring your windbreaker / raincoat with you, but also have like a mid-layer to wear underneath, like a sweater or a fleece or something. So that usually...
Yeah, like what I'm wearing right here, for example.
Yeah, so that can provide you with the extra warmth that you need. But yeah, you generally don't need to have as big of a puffer jacket for summer in New Zealand.
Yeah, as a rule of thumb, Kathy, you don't want to pack those big, heavy items for New Zealand. You want to be able to layer up and layer down, right? So that means that you don't want to pick that really heavy items that's going to take half your suitcase, right? For that time when you're going to start your hike and you're going to have that jacket on, and then after about 5 minutes, like every time I'm hiking with Laura, you want to take it off, and guess who's carrying it? It's me, right? So you will want to kind of be prepared for that and know that this will happen to you pretty much all the time, right? So for that reason, what you may want to do is to get yourself that good rain jacket. You want to actually good, decent quality one, right? Don't get those tiny little thin one that goes in the little backpack or fanny pack stuff. This is horrible, right?
Yeah,
An actual good one,
yeah.
and then have a jumper underneath. So if it gets a little hot, but windy, what you can do is that you can take off the jumper and still keep the rain jacket on, and so like that you're not getting cooled by the wind, but you're not cooking yourself, etc., and go on and off and on and off with the layers, right? So the rule of thumb, every single time you think about packing a really big, heavy item, see if you cannot make that two different items. Like same thing for like those really thick pants that sometimes you pack, right? You could do a long john and a normal hiking pants, right? And so then you do have those two layers, and you can mix and match and have the right approach. Like, I mean, we've done an entire winter of hiking in New Zealand when we did New Zealand's biggest gap here, and it was literally just one of those polypropylene layer or merino wool kind of underneath layer, right, and some long johns, and then for the rest we were wearing like pretty much summer outfits, and that was absolutely fine, and we didn't get cold, right, just because we were prepared and we had good quality kind of underlayers. I mean, at sometimes when it was really cold we had two underlayers, but it's fine, right? So the layering aspect is very much something to keep in mind and to kind of use as a base rule for packing for your trip to New Zealand. All right, cool. So while you are all continuing with some more questions about traveling in New Zealand, again, you can ask us anything to do with traveling in New Zealand. We'll continue with our coverage of summer packing for New Zealand, and Laura has prepared us with 10 final tips for packing for New Zealand in December, January and February. Take it away, Laura.
Yeah, so this is kind of going just sort of a wrap up of many of the things that we've already talked about during this video, but yeah, this will just sort of wrap it up quite nicely, hopefully. So starting with number one, make sure that you do pack versatile outfits. So things that can be, for instance, that you can wear the same hiking pants throughout your trip, that, maybe they're sort of the hiking pants that you can zip to make shorts or roll up to be a bit more sort of cooling, but you can also mix that up with different tops that will keep you warm, so it's more like, outfits that you can mix and match for different scenarios. Next up, consider the weather conditions in New Zealand before you travel. So just double check on the regions that you're visiting. What are the usual temperatures? Although the weather can be completely, the weather can change to what it usually is. Just check the different regions around the country, because, for instance, it is usually much warmer at the top of the North Island compared to the bottom of the South Island. So you need to bear in mind all the different places you're visiting. Next up, make sure you do bring a waterproof and windproof jacket. Something that, even in summer it can rain, and there's nothing more annoying than being completely soaked. Even if it's sunny, you can be really cold if you have been rained on. So yeah, good quality waterproof and windproof jacket is definitely recommended. I recommend to pack a mix of woolen and cotton socks. Cotton is not always best for outdoors activities, and can take forever to dry, for instance, but they can be good for days if you're just sort of doing maybe trips in the city and you want a more cooling pair of socks, then they can be good for that. Don't forget I would bring a combination of hiking shoes and flip-flops. So, when you don't want to be wearing, your bulky sort of shoes, hiking shoes that are usually more comfortable for doing all your outdoor experiences, But then if you want to give your feet a rest from that, then flip-flops are really concise. They can pack into your bag really small and easily, but they can give you, give your feet a breather. You might also want to wear them for some of these water activities you might be doing, where you need to transition between putting shoes on and going in the water, that sort of thing. Next up, sunscreen and insect repellent are two essential sort of toiletry gear that you need to pack for summer in New Zealand. Also, on top of that, it is a good idea to pack a small first aid kit and have that available in your day pack for your day-to-day's goings on. Just it's handy to have things like painkillers, or in case you do have a small injury like cuts, or if you get blisters from hiking, that sort of thing, it's always handy to have a first aid kit available. Bring a reusable water bottle. The tap water in New Zealand is safe to drink, so there's no need to buy bottled water everywhere you go. So have your own reusable water bottle with you. In terms of electronic items, make sure that you pack your travel adapter, your camera or chargers, whatever electronic devices that you're bringing. Make sure that you have all those appropriate chargers with you. And then finally, consider whether you need to bring a backpack or a suitcase. Generally, backpacks are better if you are doing a lot of walking during your traveling. So if you have to walk, if you're traveling by bus, maybe you need to walk between your accommodation and the bus stop, or if you're doing multi-day hikes in New Zealand, then backpacks are usually more versatile and better for that sort of traveler. But if you are just, say, getting a rental car, just hopping from your rental car to your accommodation, which is 5 steps away, then a suitcase is generally easier to sort of unpack and repack and that sort of thing. So depends on what sort of traveling you're doing, but pick the right one for you.
Here you go. So that's everything you need to know about packing for a trip to New Zealand. There is a link to a full article with much more tips in the description of this video. Plus, on NZ Pocket Guide, we've got you covered with all the tips you need for making the most of your trip to New Zealand. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. In the chat, we have Robert that says this weekend is Thanksgiving in the USA. A lot of traveling going on. Guess that's why a lot of people are not showing up. Yeah, maybe that's it. But to be fair, last week we did a great show about the Auckland airport. I mean, we really enjoyed it. We got 0 comments for the entire hour, but then after it really picked up, and everybody was watching it later on. So I don't know. It's the new algorithm of YouTube. It has been. A lot of people have reported it being like all over the place, which is fine. We are doing the thing that we think are useful, not necessarily to get the mega views, because we never get the mega views.
No.
All right. So speaking of getting the mega views, do you have any extra tips that people need to know about when packing for New Zealand in summer, or do you think we covered everything? Because we even have on NZ Pocket Guide, we even have like articles about the best places to visit in summer, don't we?
Yes, yes we do. Maybe one extra thing that I could add is choosing the right sort of carry-on bag for travel. Usually it's a good idea to have a carry-on bag so it meets the carry-on requirements of your airline, but also it sort of couples up as a day pack. So there are a lot of things that's useful to have to carry around with you when you're out and about. And I've talked about sunscreen, insect repellent.
Well, even just the first aid kit, right? You wanna carry that when you're doing the hike,
Yeah, maybe having your rain jacket. You might not need it at the beginning of the day, but if you just have it sort of scrunched up at the bottom of your backpack just in case.
4 seasons in one day.
4 seasons
we
in
haven't
one
said that for the whole time. That's crazy,
that's
right?
rare, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, in New Zealand there is a saying which is 4 seasons in one day, and
Laura revels in that saying. She loves it so much.
We've said it many times on this channel because it's so true.
Yeah.
But being prepared for all those many seasons in one day and having that that gear in a day pack is very much a good way to go for traveling in New Zealand. So picking a good day pack that is also comfortable to carry all day. Just another extra tip for what you choose to bring to New Zealand.
Indeed. All right. So that's going to wrap that up for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another live show. In about 15 minutes, we are hosting a kind of a group call with all of our Patreon subscribers. So if you feel like you would benefit from that when planning your trip to New Zealand and much more, make sure to consider joining us on a Patreon. Yeah, don't forget to hit all the different buttons. The algorithm love it. And we see you next week with another great show. And I should have prepared and known what the great show is all about. What is it going to be about? I have no idea. Let me just quickly pad by telling you that this is going to be the turn of the season this week in New Zealand. And we are going to see the beginning of summer. So next week, we're seeing you in summer, actually. But this padding is continuing. Which is going to be quite exciting to see you back in summer. And the show is going to be the absolute best presents for travel. Oh yeah, that's the correct right season, right? We're going to talk about presents. What do we want to receive? So Laura and I both made a list of the things we want to receive as travelers, and we'll tell you what we think travelers want to receive as presents. Because why not? It's going to be fun.
Okay. Sounds great. I can't wait.
All right, everybody. Hey, I successfully padded as I was clicking everywhere to try to figure out where it was. So it was fine. Okay, everybody. You have an awesome week. Bye-bye.
See you next week.